High above the arid plains of southern Peru, etched into the desert floor like a colossal canvas, lies one of the most baffling mysteries of the ancient world, the Nazca Lines. Stretching for miles across the landscape, these enormous geoglyphs form intricate shapes, spirals, animals, even humanoid figures, so vast they can only be fully appreciated from the sky. Who could have created these breathtaking designs, and what possible purpose could they have served? For decades, these questions have haunted archaeologists, historians, and adventurers alike, drawing them into a puzzle that defies easy answers. The Nazca Lines aren't just lines in the sand, they're a whisper from the past, a coded message left by a civilization long gone, daring us to unravel their secrets. Picture standing on the ground, looking at what seems like nothing more than shallow grooves in the earth. Then imagine soaring above, watching as those grooves transform into a sprawling hummingbird, a towering spider, or a winding serpent, each figure so precise, so deliberate, it's as if the desert itself was meant to be seen from the heavens. The scale is staggering, the artistry undeniable, but here's the real mystery. The Nazca people created these designs over 1,500 years ago, without the benefit of flight, without modern tools, and with no clear explanation for why they would dedicate such effort to art that couldn't even be seen from the ground. Was it a form of worship, a celestial map, or something even more extraordinary? From ancient rituals meant to summon rain in this parched landscape to wild theories about extraterrestrial visitors, the Nazca Lines have inspired countless explanations, each more fascinating than the last. Some believe they were pathways for religious processions, others argue they're giant astronomical calendars, and a few even suggest they were landing strips for otherworldly beings. But what's the truth? Over the centuries, as the wind and time have threatened to erase them, these enigmatic drawings have only grown more mysterious, pulling us deeper into their story. Today, we're going to uncover the most compelling theories, separate fact from fiction, and piece together the incredible story of who made the Nazca Lines and why. This isn't just a journey into the past. It's a chance to stand alongside the archaeologists and explorers who have dedicated their lives to solving this ancient riddle. So let's dive in, because the desert has secrets to share, and they're waiting for us to listen. For centuries, the Nazca Lines lay hidden in plain sight, their vast designs blending into the desert floor until the modern age of flight lifted humanity's perspective and revealed their breathtaking scale. The first recorded discovery came in the 1920s, when Peruvian archaeologist Toribio Mejia Zesp stumbled upon these strange markings while hiking through the arid plateau. To him, they were little more than faint trails etched into the earth, their significance unclear. But everything changed decades later when commercial pilots flying over the region looked down and saw something extraordinary. Entire landscapes transformed into sprawling artworks, invisible from the ground yet unmistakable from the air. Suddenly, the world took notice. What had seemed like random scratches to those on foot revealed themselves as intricate masterpieces. A monkey with a spiraling tail, a killer whale mid-swim, even a humanoid figure nicknamed the astronaut, arms outstretched as if reaching for the stars. The hummingbird alone stretches over 1,200 feet, its wings perfectly symmetrical, its beak pointing precisely toward the setting sun during the summer solstice. How could a civilization without flight conceive of art meant to be seen from such heights? And why would they pour such effort into creations they could never fully witness themselves? This paradox lies at the heart of the mystery. The Nazca people flourished between 200 BC and 600 CE, leaving behind no written records, only these colossal messages in the sand. To craft them, they meticulously removed the reddish-brown topsoil, exposing the lighter earth beneath, a technique that allowed the lines to endure for millennia. Yet without the ability to fly, the artists would have had no way to check their progress or admire their work in full. Some researchers believe they might have used simple surveying tools like ropes and stakes to plot out the designs. Others suggest they built makeshift observation towers or even hot air balloons, though no evidence of such technology has ever been found. What's undeniable is the precision involved. Many of the lines stretch perfectly straight for miles, defying the rugged terrain, while the animal figures maintain near mathematical proportions. Were they sacred pathways for religious ceremonies, aligning with celestial events, or perhaps offerings to gods in the sky, pleading for water in this unforgiving desert? As we peel back the layers of speculation, one thing becomes clear: the Nazca Lines aren't just art, they're a testament to human ingenuity, a bridge between earth and sky, left behind by a people determined to make their mark on the world and the cosmos itself. The Nazca people were far more than just the creators of these mysterious desert drawings. They were a sophisticated civilization whose achievements rivaled some of the greatest ancient cultures. Flourishing in southern Peru between 200 BC and 600 CE, the Nazca transformed this harsh, arid landscape into a thriving society. Their pottery, painted with vivid colors and intricate designs of mythical creatures and daily life, reveals an artistic mastery that echoes the precision of the Nazca Lines themselves. Equally remarkable were their textiles, woven with such skill that some fabrics contained nearly 100 threads per inch, finer than modern industrial looms could produce. But perhaps their most ingenious feat was their irrigation system. In a land where rain might only fall once a decade, the Nazca dug miles of underground aqueducts called puquios, funneling water from distant mountains to their crops. These spiral-shaped wells and stone-lined tunnels still function today, a testament to their engineering brilliance. If they could reshape the very earth to bring life to the desert, is it any surprise they could etch colossal artworks into its surface? Religion likely played a central role in their lives, and many scholars believe the Nazca Lines were part of elaborate rituals to communicate with the gods. The desert was more than just their home. It was a sacred space where the boundaries between earth and sky blurred. Some figures, like the hummingbird and spider, mirror motifs found on Nazca pottery, suggesting they held deep spiritual meaning. Others align with solstice sunrises or constellations, hinting at a celestial connection. Yet the sheer scale of these designs raises another question. If they were meant for the gods, why make them so enormous? Some researchers propose that walking these pathways was a form of pilgrimage, a physical journey mirroring a spiritual one. Others argue the lines acted as giant ceremonial stages, visible only to deities looking down from above. Whatever their purpose, one thing is clear: the Nazca didn't just leave behind lines in the sand. They left a puzzle, a deliberate message spanning centuries, waiting for us to decipher its true meaning. Standing before these massive desert drawings, scholars have spent decades piecing together why the Nazca people would create something so monumental yet invisible from the ground. The most widely accepted theory suggests these lines were sacred pathways, roads walked during religious ceremonies to connect with the divine. Imagine bare feet tracing the outline of a spider or a hummingbird, each step a prayer, each turn a ritual. Archaeologists have found pottery fragments and offerings along some lines, hinting at processions where participants may have carried gifts for the gods, begging for rain in this unforgiving landscape. After all, water was life here, and what better way to plead with the skies than by carving symbols into the earth itself? But another compelling idea comes from Maria Rike, the German mathematician who devoted her life to studying the Nazca Lines. She noticed something astonishing: many of the lines align with key astronomical events, like solstices or the rising of certain stars. The famous arrow, a straight line nearly a mile long, points directly to where the sun sets during the winter solstice. Could these have been a giant calendar helping the Nazca track planting seasons or predict rains? Rike's work suggests these people weren't just artists, they were astronomers turning the desert into a cosmic map. Then there's Erich von Däniken's far more controversial theory that the Nazca Lines were landing strips or signals for extraterrestrial visitors. The idea took hold in the 1960s, fueled by the sheer impossibility of creating such precise designs without aerial oversight. The astronaut figure, with its wide eyes and floating stance, only added to the speculation. But while this theory captures imaginations, most scientists dismiss it. There's no physical evidence of alien contact, and the lines fit seamlessly into what we know of Nazca spirituality. So who's right? The truth may lie somewhere in between. Maybe these lines served multiple purposes, blending astronomy, religion, and community identity. What's undeniable is that the Nazca poured their hearts into these desert canvases, leaving behind a mystery that still tugs at our curiosity. And as we dig deeper into their world, another question emerges: how did they even create these designs with such jaw-dropping precision? That's where the real ingenuity begins. Maria Rike spent decades under the blazing Peruvian sun, measuring, mapping, and decoding the Nazca lines with a mathematician's precision. What she uncovered was nothing short of extraordinary. Many of these ancient designs weren't just random art. They were celestial signposts, carefully aligned with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Take the massive trapezoid shapes near the Nazca River. During the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun sets perfectly along one edge, as if the entire structure was designed to frame this cosmic event. Even more striking is the stork glyph, whose elongated beak points directly toward the sunrise on the winter solstice, a time when ancient cultures often celebrated rebirth and renewal. Modern technology has both confirmed and complicated Rike's theories. Satellite imaging and drone surveys reveal that certain lines match the rising positions of bright stars like Sirius or Orion's belt, constellations revered by cultures worldwide. But here's the catch: not all the lines fit this pattern. Some seem to follow underground water sources, while others mirror the paths of ancient trade routes. This has led critics to argue that the astronomical alignments might be coincidental, a case of seeing patterns where none were intended. Yet even skeptics admit the solstice alignments are too precise to ignore. What's undeniable is how vital celestial knowledge was to the Nazca. In a land where rain was scarce and survival depended on timing crops perfectly, tracking the seasons wasn't just science, it was survival. The lines may have served as a giant agricultural calendar, signaling when to plant or harvest based on the stars' positions. Imagine communities gathering at dawn to watch the sun rise over a specific line, marking the start of planting season. These weren't just markings in the dirt, they were a dialogue with the cosmos, a way to harness the rhythms of the universe. But the stars tell only part of the story. If the lines were purely practical, why create such elaborate animal figures? This is where astronomy blends with spirituality. Many ancient cultures saw the sky as a realm of gods, and the Nazca may have believed their celestial alignments invited divine intervention. The hummingbird, a creature associated with resurrection in Andean myths, or the spider, a symbol of rain and fertility, could have been offerings to deities, their forms etched into the earth as permanent prayers. This duality, practical and sacred, reveals the depth of Nazca ingenuity. They didn't just observe the heavens, they wove them into the fabric of their daily lives and beliefs. And as we unravel these connections, another layer of the mystery emerges. How did a people without written language encode such complex knowledge into the land itself? The answer might lie not just in the stars, but in the very soil beneath their feet. The Nazca Lines might not just be art or astronomy. They could be a sacred language written across the desert in symbols only the gods could read. Imagine hundreds of barefoot pilgrims walking the outline of a giant spider, their footsteps tracing prayers into the earth. Archaeologists have found broken pottery along some lines, vessels that once held offerings, perhaps corn, beans, or even water, the most precious gift in this parched land. Some shards show painted figures with arms raised, as if worshipping beneath the same sky that watched over the lines. These discoveries hint at something profound. The desert wasn't just a canvas for the Nazca. It was a temple without walls where every line was a hymn, every geoglyph an altar. Water, or the lack of it, may hold the key. In a place where rain could vanish for years, survival depended on divine favor. The Nazca knew water flowed beneath the desert. Their intricate puquios proved that, but they also knew the skies could be merciless, so they may have turned the earth itself into a prayer. The hummingbird, a symbol of resurrection in Andean culture, or the serpent, linked to rivers and fertility, weren't just drawings. They were desperate invitations begging the gods to send rain. Even the straight lines might have served as ritual pathways, guiding processions towards sacred points where priests could commune with the heavens. Yet not all the lines fit neatly into this spiritual puzzle. Some stretch for miles without connecting to figures, while others crisscross like an ancient blueprint. Could there have been a practical purpose hidden beneath the sacred? Farmers might have used certain lines to mark underground water channels, or traders could have followed them as desert landmarks. The truth might lie in a blend of both, where faith and survival walked the same path, etched side by side into the dust. After all, in a world where life depended on the whims of nature, the line between prayer and practicality would have been as thin as the desert air. This duality forces us to rethink the Nazca's legacy. Maybe the lines weren't meant to be one thing but many, part calendar, part cathedral, part map. And as we wrestle with these possibilities, another question lingers. If the lines were so vital, why did the Nazca vanish, leaving their desert masterpiece behind? The answer might lie not in the sky, but beneath our feet, in the very soil that once sustained them. In the scorching heart of the Nazca Desert, where rain might skip an entire generation, water wasn't just a resource, it was a god. And the Nazca Lines might have been their most desperate prayer. Some researchers believe these sprawling geoglyphs weren't just art or astronomy, but part of an elaborate water cult, a sacred plea carved into the earth itself. Take the iconic hummingbird. Its long beak doesn't just point to the solstice sun, it aligns with underground streams, as if mapping secret veins of life beneath the parched surface. Even more telling are the zigzag patterns resembling lightning, a symbol of rain in Andean mythology, etched near ancient water sources. Were these designs meant to summon storms, to coax the skies into opening? The Nazca's survival hinged on their ability to harness water in a land that offered none. Their underground aqueducts, the puquios, were engineering marvels, but they knew the real power lay beyond human hands. Ceremonial offerings, shells, textiles, even sacrificed llamas have been found along certain lines, often placed where water pooled during rare downpours. One theory suggests the Nazca walked these pathways during rituals, their footsteps tracing invocations for rain, their voices rising with the wind. The desert became a living altar, every line a conduit between earth and the unseen forces that controlled the rains. But water worship might explain only part of the puzzle. Recent satellite surveys reveal something astonishing. Many of the straight lines run directly above hidden aquifers, as if marking where to dig. Could the Nazca have used these geoglyphs as a sacred map, blending practical knowledge with spiritual belief? The zigzagging serpent glyph, for instance, mirrors the path of an underground river, its coils echoing the way water twists beneath the soil. To a people who saw divinity in every drop, these alignments wouldn't just be coincidence, they'd be divine guidance. Yet as compelling as the water cult theory is, it doesn't account for every line. Some stretch into the barren hills, far from any water source, while others intersect in ways that suggest territorial boundaries. This raises another possibility. The Nazca Lines might have been a way to claim space, to say, "This land is ours, watched over by our gods." In a world where resources were scarce, marking territory could mean survival. The sprawling trapezoids, visible only from above, may have served as symbols of power, declaring control to neighboring tribes, or even to the deities themselves. So were the lines sacred hydrology, territorial markers, or both? Perhaps the answer lies in the Nazca's worldview, where the practical and the spiritual weren't separate, but woven together like the threads of their textiles. To them, water wasn't just underground, it was in the stars, the soil, the very air they breathed. And if the desert was their temple, the lines were their hymns sung across centuries, waiting for us to listen. Among the vast stretches of the Nazca Desert, where the earth meets the sky in an unbroken horizon, the lines might have served as more than just sacred art. They could have been bold declarations of territory, etched into the land like ancient deeds. Imagine rival clans or neighboring tribes navigating this harsh landscape, encountering a colossal spider or a towering condor carved into the earth. To them, these figures might not have been mere symbols but powerful markers, signaling who controlled the water sources, the farmlands, or the trade routes. In a world where survival depended on scarce resources, claiming space wasn't just about pride, it was about life and death. This idea isn't without precedent. Across the ancient world, cultures used monumental art to assert dominance. The Mesopotamians built ziggurats that scraped the heavens, the Egyptians erected obelisks as boundary stones, and the Celts carved intricate spirals into sacred rocks. The Nazca Lines could have served a similar purpose, their sheer size and visibility making them impossible to ignore. Some researchers point to the trapezoid shapes, which often cluster near valleys and foothills, prime locations for settlements or agricultural land. These geometric designs might have functioned like ancient billboards announcing to all who passed, "This land is claimed," but the animal figures add another layer of intrigue. Could each creature have represented a different clan or lineage? The killer whale, revered in coastal cultures, might have symbolized a group with ties to the Pacific, while the condor, a sacred messenger in Andean cosmology, could have marked the territory of sky-worshipping priests. Even the so-called astronaut, with its otherworldly appearance, might have been the emblem of a shamanic lineage, its outstretched arms invoking protection over their domain. If true, walking these lines wouldn't just have been a spiritual act, it would have been a reaffirmation of identity, a way to say, "We belong to this land and it belongs to us." Yet not all theories about the Nazca Lines are grounded in archaeology. Over the years, wilder ideas have captured the public's imagination, from claims of ancient alien runways to suggestions that the lines were part of a prehistoric power grid. While these fringe theories make for thrilling stories, they often overlook the ingenuity of the Nazca people themselves. Why attribute these marvels to extraterrestrials when human hands, guided by generations of knowledge, could achieve such precision? The truth is, the Nazca didn't need otherworldly help. They had something far more powerful, a deep understanding of their environment, a rich spiritual tradition, and an unshakable determination to leave their mark on the world. So where does that leave us? The lines might have been territorial markers, clan symbols, celestial maps, and sacred prayers all at once. The Nazca world, you didn't separate the practical from the spiritual. To them, every act was woven into the fabric of the cosmos. And as we stand here today, gazing at these ancient designs, we're not just solving a mystery. We're stepping into their shoes, seeing the world as they did, where earth and sky, survival and worship were one and the same. Erich von Däniken's theory catapulted the Nazca Lines into global fame and controversy in the 1960s when he claimed these ancient geoglyphs were nothing less than landing strips for extraterrestrial visitors. His argument hinged on one baffling question: how could a pre-industrial society create such precise, massive designs without the ability to see them from above? To von Däniken, the answer was simple: aliens must have provided the technology or even walked these very paths themselves. The idea took hold in popular culture, spawning documentaries, books, and even sci-fi films that painted the Nazca people as primitive bystanders to otherworldly architects. But beneath the sensational headlines, this theory crumbles under scrutiny. Archaeologists point out a glaring flaw. There's zero physical evidence of advanced technology or alien contact at Nazca. No strange metals, no futuristic tools, no artifacts that defy explanation. Every shred of material evidence, from pottery shards to weaving tools, fits seamlessly into what we know of ancient Andean cultures. Worse yet, von Däniken's interpretation carries an uncomfortable colonial undertone, implying that indigenous peoples couldn't have achieved such feats on their own. It's a pattern we've seen before. Think of the myth that enslaved laborers couldn't have built the Egyptian pyramids without divine help. The truth is far more empowering. The Nazca were ingenious engineers who mastered their environment through observation, tradition, and sheer human brilliance. Pop culture, though, loves a good alien mystery. Movies like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and TV shows like Ancient Aliens have amplified these myths, often cherry-picking data while ignoring counter-arguments. Take the so-called astronaut figure, a humanoid glyph with wide eyes and what some claim to be a space helmet. In reality, it's more likely a shaman mid-ritual, draped in ceremonial garb, a common motif in Nazca art. Or consider the long, straight lines dubbed runways. If aliens needed landing strips, why would they choose a rocky desert pocked with crevices? Modern runways require flat, stable surfaces, something the Nazca Plateau notoriously lacks. What's lost in these extraterrestrial speculations is the real marvel: how the Nazca transformed their landscape through communal effort and spiritual vision. Unlike alien theories, which reduce the lines to passive artifacts, archaeology reveals an active, living culture. The lines weren't built in isolation. They were part of a broader ritual landscape connected to temples, plazas, and water sources. Imagine hundreds of people laboring together, removing tons of dark stones to expose the lighter earth beneath, guided by nothing more than ropes, stakes, and generations of knowledge. That's not just impressive, it's a testament to what humans can achieve when culture, necessity, and creativity collide. So where does this leave us? The alien theory, while entertaining, distracts from a far richer story. By returning to the archaeological record, the pottery, the textiles, the puquios, we reclaim the Nazca's legacy as masters of their world. Their lines weren't messages for extraterrestrials. They were conversations with the earth, the sky, and the divine. And that's a mystery worth solving. Maria Rike arrived in Peru in the 1930s, a young mathematician with a passion for the stars, but she left as the legendary Lady of the Lines, a woman who devoted 50 years of her life to unraveling the Nazca enigma. Armed with little more than a broom, a notebook, and an unshakable determination, she single-handedly cleared centuries of wind-blown debris from the geoglyphs, painstakingly measuring each curve and angle under the scorching desert sun. Her methods were simple yet revolutionary. Using nothing but a tape measure and a theodolite, she mapped over 50 figures and nearly 1,000 lines, documenting their alignments with celestial events with mathematical precision. To Rike, these weren't just random scratches in the earth, they were a complex astronomical code, a giant blackboard where the Nazca recorded their understanding of the cosmos. Her obsession came at a cost. Living in a tiny house near the desert's edge, she battled isolation, sandstorms, and even threats from locals who saw her work as meddling with ancient spirits. Yet she persisted, funding her research by selling handmade postcards and lecturing to sparse audiences. Her breakthrough came when she noticed how the spider glyph's elongated legs pointed to the Pleiades constellation during key agricultural periods, a celestial signal for planting or harvest. This discovery fueled her theory that the lines were a vast astronomical calendar, guiding the Nazca through the rhythms of their harsh environment. But Rike's legacy extends beyond her theories. She was the first to recognize the fragility of these desert drawings, rallying against government plans to build roads through the plateau and even paying guards out of her own pocket to protect them from vandalism. Her relentless advocacy led to the Nazca Lines being declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994, ensuring their preservation for future generations. Today, her former home is a museum, her handwritten notes and sun-bleached maps displayed like sacred texts, a testament to one woman's unwavering belief that these ancient lines held secrets worth protecting. Modern researchers now build on her work with tools she could never have imagined. Drones equipped with LiDAR scan the desert in 3 dimensions, revealing previously hidden lines buried beneath the sand. Satellite imagery detects subtle soil changes, exposing faded glyphs invisible to the naked eye. Yet even with this technology, Rike's foundational work remains crucial. Her meticulous hand-drawn maps still guide archaeologists, proving that sometimes the most powerful tool isn't advanced machinery, it's patience, curiosity, and a willingness to listen to what the past is whispering. For decades, the Nazca Lines were thought to number in the hundreds, until modern technology tore the veil off the desert and revealed just how much we'd been missing. In 2019, a team of researchers armed with drones and artificial intelligence made a staggering announcement. They'd uncovered 143 previously unknown geoglyphs hidden in plain sight. These weren't just faint echoes of the famous hummingbird or spider. They included entirely new figures, like a bizarre two-faced humanoid with one head smiling and the other snarling, or a serpent-like creature coiled as if ready to strike. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological world, proving that even after a century of study, the Nazca Plateau still holds secrets waiting to be unearthed. So how did we miss these designs for so long? The answer lies in the limitations of the human eye. From the ground, many of these geoglyphs are invisible shallow depressions or subtle color variations in the soil that blur into the landscape. But drones flying at low altitudes, equipped with high-resolution cameras, captured details invisible to satellites. Even more revolutionary was the use of AI, which analyzed thousands of aerial images, spotting patterns and shapes too faint or fragmented for human researchers to detect. Some of the newly discovered figures are shockingly small, less than 15 feet across, while others stretch over 200 feet, their outlines obscured by centuries of wind and erosion. The implications are profound. These findings suggest the Nazca culture might have been creating geoglyphs far earlier than we thought. Some of the newly uncovered designs appear to predate the famous animal figures by centuries, hinting at a long, evolving tradition. Even more intriguing is their distribution. the lines aren't confined to the Nazca Desert alone. They spill into neighboring valleys, suggesting this practice was more widespread than anyone imagined. Could there be entire networks of undiscovered geoglyphs lurking beneath the dust of southern Peru? But with every revelation comes a pressing new challenge: preservation. The same technology that uncovered these fragile designs also highlights their vulnerability. Tourism, climate change, and even illegal mining threaten to erase these ancient masterpieces faster than we can document them. In 2020, a truck driver ignoring warning signs plowed through a section of the lines, leaving tire scars across a 2,000-year-old glyph. Meanwhile, shifting weather patterns bring rare but destructive rains that wash away the delicate topsoil holding these designs in place. The race is on, not just to find more lines, but to protect the ones we've already found. Archaeologists now use three-dimensional modeling to create digital twins of the geoglyphs, ensuring that even if the originals fade, their legacy won't. Meanwhile, local communities, once indifferent to the lines, are becoming their fiercest guardians, recognizing that these aren't just curiosities from the past, they're irreplaceable threads in the fabric of human history. And as the desert slowly yields its secrets, one question lingers: what else is out there waiting to be seen? The Nazca Lines have survived for over 2,000 years, but their greatest threat isn't time, it's us. Every year, thousands of visitors trek across the fragile desert, their footsteps eroding the very designs they've come to admire. In 2014, Greenpeace activists infamously laid massive yellow cloth letters reading "Time for Change" near the hummingbird glyph, leaving lasting damage to the ancient surface. Worse still are the illegal miners and squatters who have carved roads through the plateau, their trucks crushing irreplaceable geoglyphs beneath their wheels. Even well-meaning tourists pose a risk. A single misstep can disturb the delicate balance of dark stones and light soil that makes these lines visible. The desert isn't just a museum, it's a living, breathing landscape, and every intrusion leaves scars. Climate change amplifies these dangers. The Nazca Desert, already one of the driest places on Earth, now faces erratic weather patterns. Rare but intense rainstorms, once unheard of in this hyper-arid region, now wash away entire sections of the lines, their torrents carving gullies through ancient art. Rising temperatures accelerate erosion, while stronger winds scatter the dark volcanic stones that define the geoglyph's edges. Scientists warn that without intervention, some figures could fade into oblivion within decades, their stories lost to the shifting sands. That's where UNESCO steps in, declaring the Nazca Lines a World Heritage Site in 1994 was a turning point, bringing international attention and funding to their protection. Armed guards now patrol the plateau, and drones monitor remote areas for trespassers. Researchers employ non-invasive techniques like ground-penetrating radar to study the lines without touching them. But preservation isn't just about fences and fines, it's about changing minds. Local schools now teach children the line's cultural significance, transforming them from curious oddities into sources of pride. Tour operators educate visitors on responsible viewing, urging them to stick to designated paths and resist the urge to take just one step closer for a photo. Balancing research with conservation is a delicate dance. Every excavation risks damage, yet leaving the lines unstudied means losing their secrets forever. The solution: technology. Archaeologists now use photogrammetry to create millimeter-perfect 3D models, preserving every detail digitally. Satellite imagery tracks erosion in real time, allowing targeted repairs. Even the public plays a role. Crowdsourcing platforms let armchair archaeologists scan aerial images for undiscovered glyphs or signs of looting. These challenges aren't unique to Nazca. From England's Uffington White Horse, a 3,000-year-old chalk figure threatened by grass encroachment, to Kazakhstan's mysterious steppe geoglyphs, slowly disappearing under farmland, ancient earthworks worldwide face similar battles. What sets the Nazca Lines apart is their sheer scale and the urgency of their plight. They're not just Peru's heritage, they're humanity's shared legacy, a testament to what we can achieve when we work with the earth rather than against it. And if we lose them, we don't just lose art, we lose a conversation with the past, one that's been ongoing for millennia. The Nazca Lines aren't alone in their mystery. Across the globe, ancient cultures carved their stories into the earth, leaving behind geoglyphs that still puzzle us today. Take England's Uffington White Horse, a sleek, abstract figure galloping across a chalk hillside for over 3,000 years. Unlike the Nazca's sprawling desert canvas, this Celtic masterpiece is best seen from the valley below, a symbol of tribal identity or perhaps a tribute to horse goddesses worshipped at the time. Then there's Kazakhstan's steppe geoglyphs, massive earthworks shaped into squares, rings, and even a swastika-like design, stretching across landscapes so remote they weren't discovered until the 21st century. These two were meant to be seen from above, but with no evidence of flight, their purpose remains as elusive as the Nazca's. What unites these distant creations is their sheer audacity. Each required backbreaking labor, moving tons of earth or stone without modern tools, all for art that couldn't be fully appreciated by its makers. Yet the differences are just as revealing. The Uffington horse was carved into chalk, its lines maintained by generations of locals who scoured the hillside to prevent grass from obscuring it. A living tradition lost in Nazca, where the dry climate preserved the lines naturally. Kazakhstan's geoglyphs, built by nomadic cultures, often align with burial mounds, suggesting funeral rites or territorial claims, while Nazca's designs lean heavily toward celestial and water rituals. But precision sets the Nazca Lines apart. The Uffington horse is striking but abstract, a flowing silhouette meant to be recognized from afar. Kazakhstan's figures are geometric, their construction reliant on simple ropes and stakes. The Nazca, however, achieved near-flawless symmetry in their animal glyphs, with the spider's legs perfectly proportioned and the hummingbird's wings mirroring each other down to the smallest feather. How did they do it? Some theorize they scaled down their designs using grids, transferring small sketches to the desert floor with measured steps. Others believe they used wooden frameworks or smoke signals to guide their work from elevated viewpoints. The real marvel isn't just the scale or the precision, it's the why. These cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, shared a universal impulse to etch their beliefs into the land itself. Whether for gods, ancestors, or the stars, they transformed ordinary earth into something sacred. And as we piece together their methods, we're left with a humbling truth. The Nazca and their counterparts didn't just create art. They engineered wonder, leaving behind puzzles that still pull us into their world. To create the Nazca Lines, the ancient builders didn't need advanced technology, just an intimate understanding of their environment and a few simple tools. Picture teams of workers crouching under the relentless sun, carefully peeling back the desert's dark volcanic stones to reveal the lighter, sand-colored soil beneath. This striking contrast is what makes the lines visible even today. The technique itself was straightforward. By removing just a few inches of the rust-colored top layer, they created designs that could withstand centuries of wind and weather. But the real genius lay in the execution. Without aerial views or blueprints, how did they achieve such jaw-dropping precision? The answer might be as humble as a rope and a stake. Archaeologists believe the Nazca used basic surveying tools to plot out their designs. Imagine a team stretching a long cord between two stakes to to mark a perfectly straight line across miles of uneven terrain. For curves and intricate shapes, they likely scaled up smaller models, transferring the proportions step by step. Some researchers suggest they might have built simple scaffolds or vantage points on nearby hills to check their progress, though no physical evidence of these structures remains. What's astonishing is the consistency. The hummingbird's wings, for example, mirror each other with near mathematical symmetry, and the spider's legs curve with the same graceful precision, as if drawn by a single hand. But here's the twist. The Nazca didn't just scratch these designs into the ground. They engineered them to last. The removed stones weren't discarded. They were piled along the edges of the lines, creating low ridges that helped prevent erosion. Even more cleverly, the dark stones absorb heat during the day, creating a layer of warm air that deflects the wind, much like a natural force field. Over time, this microclimate actually cemented the lighter soil beneath, making the lines more resistant to the elements. It's a testament to their deep knowledge of the desert's rhythms. They didn't fight the environment, they worked with it. Yet the most baffling question remains. If the Nazca couldn't see their creations from above, why invest such effort into art they'd never fully witness? Some argue the lines were meant for celestial eyes, gods or ancestors looking down from the sky. Others propose that walking these pathways was a spiritual act, with the physical journey mattering more than the visual result. Or perhaps the very act of creation was the point, a communal effort to bind the people to their land and their beliefs. Whatever the reason, the Nazca Lines stand as a testament to human ingenuity, proving that sometimes the simplest tools can yield the most extraordinary legacies. The idea that the Nazca Lines were meant to be seen from above sparks one of the most fascinating debates in archaeology. Did this ancient civilization possess some form of aerial technology, or were these colossal designs crafted solely for divine viewers? Some researchers point to the Paracas culture, predecessors of the Nazca, who created massive geoglyphs on hillsides visible from the ground. But the Nazca took this further, etching their art into flat desert plains where the full impact could only be appreciated from hundreds of feet in the air. This has led to wild but compelling theories. Could they have built primitive hot air balloons or giant kites to oversee their work? In the 1970s, a team led by balloonist Julian not attempted to recreate a Nazca-style balloon using only materials available at the time: cotton fabric and reeds. Astonishingly, their craft, named the Condor, soared successfully, proving it was technically possible. Even more intriguing, pottery fragments found near the lines depict what some interpret as balloon-like designs, though skeptics argue these could simply be stylized fish or other symbols. Without physical evidence of such balloons, the theory remains speculative, but it's a tantalizing glimpse into what might have been. Another possibility. The lines were never meant for human eyes at all. In many Andean cultures, mountains, rivers, and celestial bodies were seen as living deities. The Nazca may have believed their gods resided in the sky, looking down upon the earth. By carving these immense figures, they could have been sending prayers directly upward: a hummingbird to honor the spirits of the air, a spider to invoke rain, their artistry serving as a permanent dialogue with the divine. The precision of the alignments with solstices and stars suggests these weren't random doodles but deliberate messages to forces beyond human reach. The cultural impact of these lines stretches far beyond their original purpose. Today, they've inspired everything from scientific research to sci-fi lore, becoming a symbol of humanity's enduring fascination with the unexplained. Artists replicate their patterns, tourists flock to the desert, and scholars debate their meanings, each generation projecting its own interpretations onto these ancient canvases. The Nazca Lines remind us that great art transcends time, speaking not just to the people who created it, but to all who encounter it across the ages. Whether meant for gods, ancestors, or future civilizations, their legacy endures, a testament to the universal human urge to reach beyond the visible world. From Hollywood blockbusters to best-selling novels, the Nazca Lines have slithered their way into modern storytelling, becoming shorthand for ancient enigmas and extraterrestrial intrigue. Indiana Jones famously chased crystal skulls across a landscape dotted with these geoglyphs, while sci-fi classics like Stargate imagined them as portals to other worlds. Even video games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider send players scrambling across the desert, solving puzzles hidden within the lines. But perhaps no show has amplified their mystique more than Ancient Aliens, which dedicates entire episodes to framing the geoglyphs as proof of alien visitation, complete with dramatic reenactments of wide-eyed Nazca artists gazing at spaceships in the sky. The series' viral clips have racked up millions of views, embedding the idea of alien runways deep into pop culture, despite archaeologists rolling their eyes at the oversimplification. Books, too, have fed the frenzy. Erich von Däniken's Chariots of the Gods sold over 7 million copies by linking the lines to interstellar travelers, while more measured works like Toni Morrison's Pathways to the Gods counter with grounded research on celestial alignments. The lines even inspired a wave of speculative fiction, from Jorge Luis Borges' poetic musings on their labyrinthine qualities to modern thrillers where they're coded maps to apocalyptic secrets. Yet beneath the sensationalism lies a curious truth. These stories, no matter how outlandish, keep the Nazca people's legacy alive. Every alien theory, every fictional adventure, is a backhanded tribute to their ingenuity, proof that their creations still captivate us millennia later. But pop culture's love affair with the lines often overshadows the real humans behind them. Recent documentaries like Nazca, The Lines of the Gods, are shifting focus, using CGI to reconstruct the desert as it might have looked during ceremonies filled with chanting processions, not UFOs. Scholars now emphasize the communal effort behind the geoglyphs, highlighting how entire villages likely collaborated to clear tons of rock under the scorching sun. Even the alien figures make more sense in context. The wide-eyed astronaut closely resembles masked shamans depicted on Nazca pottery, arms raised in ritual ecstasy. The line's journey from sacred art to sci-fi icon reveals something profound about how we engage with the past. We project our own fears and fantasies onto these ancient canvases, whether imagining ancient astronauts or lost civilizations. Yet the real magic isn't in wild speculation, it's in the tangible human hands that shaped them. Those hands didn't need aliens to achieve the impossible. They had something far more powerful: patience, faith, and an unshakable bond with the land they called home. And as the desert wind whispers over those enduring lines, it carries not secrets of other worlds, but an echo of our own, endlessly creative, relentlessly curious, forever reaching beyond what the eye can see. The Nazca people vanished over 1,000 years ago, their civilization swallowed by time, drought, or perhaps even conflict. Yet their legacy pulses across the desert, etched into the earth with a precision that still defies explanation. These lines aren't just relics, they're a window into a culture that saw the world differently, where the boundary between the practical and the sacred blurred into something extraordinary. Consider the hummingbird, its wings frozen mid-flight, or the spider, its legs curled as if ready to scuttle across the sand. These weren't doodles on a colossal scale, they were declarations. The Nazca didn't just live in their environment, they conversed with it, shaping the land into a language of symbols meant for gods, stars, or generations yet unborn. What's striking isn't just the artistry but the resilience behind it. While other civilizations built pyramids or temples, the Nazca invested their genius into impermanent mediums, thread, clay, and now fading lines in the dirt. Their textiles, woven with impossible fineness, dissolved long ago. Their pottery, though vibrant, shattered into fragments. Yet the lines endured, precisely because they embraced the desert's harshness rather than resisting it. By working with the wind, the sun, and the very soil, they created art that outlasted empires. It's a lesson in humility. Sometimes the most enduring monuments aren't towering stones but whispers in the landscape, waiting for the right moment to be heard. Their disappearance only deepens the mystery. Around 600 CE, the Nazca culture began to unravel. Climate shifts may have turned their already fragile world into a wasteland, drying up the underground streams their puquios depended on. Or maybe internal strife fractured their society, leaving the lines as silent witnesses to a collapse we'll never fully understand. Yet even in fading, they left clues. Later cultures, like the Wari, absorbed Nazca motifs into their art, carrying fragments of their legacy forward. The lines themselves became palimpsests, later peoples adding their own marks, as if unable to resist adding to the conversation. Today, the Nazca challenge us to rethink what it means to leave a mark. They built no cities, wrote no chronicles, yet their desert canvas speaks louder than stone. It asks us to consider how we, too, might communicate across centuries, not with brute force, but with ingenuity and reverence for the natural world. And as we stand on the edge of their sprawling designs, one question lingers. If these lines were meant to endure, what message were they truly sending? The answer might not lie in the stars or the soil, but in the space between where art, survival, and the divine collide. Despite centuries of study, the Nazca Lines guard secrets that continue to stump even the most seasoned researchers. Take the sudden appearance of perfect triangles and trapezoids among the animal figures, geometric shapes so precise they rival modern engineering. Unlike the organic curves of the hummingbird or monkey, these angular forms align with mathematical precision, their edges razor straight across miles of uneven terrain. How did the Nazca achieve such flawless symmetry without theodolites or aerial guidance? Some propose they used a system of ropes anchored to central poles, creating massive compasses to trace perfect angles. Others suggest these shapes served as ceremonial plazas, their clean lines marking sacred spaces for rituals. Yet no theory fully explains why some triangles point toward distant mountains while others vanish into the horizon, their purpose as elusive as their construction. Equally baffling is how the Nazca maintained such consistent proportions in their animal glyphs. The spider's legs, for instance, taper with anatomical accuracy, while the condor's wingspan mirrors real-world measurements down to the last feather. Without scaling tools or blueprints, how did they transfer these intricate designs from small sketches to sprawling desert canvases? Recent experiments show that teams working with simple grids and counting steps could replicate basic shapes, but the Nazca's precision goes beyond trial and error. Some lines deviate by less than a meter over kilometers, a feat that would challenge modern surveyors. Were they using celestial markers or shadow casting devices to check their work, or did they possess a lost system of measurement, their units and ratios buried with them? Then there's the enigma of the disappearing lines, geoglyphs that fade in and out of visibility depending on the time of day or year. Certain figures, like the winding serpent near Palpa, only emerge fully when the sun strikes the desert at a specific angle, their shadows carving the shapes into stark relief. Was this intentional? Did the Nazca engineer their art to appear and vanish like desert mirages, reserving their full glory for sacred moments? The answer might lie in the soil itself. Studies reveal the Nazca selectively removed not just stones but also mineral-rich layers, creating surfaces that reflect light differently. This wasn't random, it was a deliberate interplay of earth and sky, a dance of visibility meant to awe those who witnessed it. Future research could rewrite much of what we think we know. Archaeologists are now deploying multispectral imaging to detect faded glyphs invisible to the naked eye, while soil analysis might reveal hidden patterns in how the lines were constructed. Genetic studies of Nazca remains could uncover clues about the social hierarchies that organized such colossal projects. Even citizen science plays a role. Volunteers scour satellite images for undiscovered lines, proving that the desert still has stories to tell. The Nazca didn't just leave us puzzles, they left an invitation to keep looking, to keep questioning. And as long as those lines stretch across the desert, they'll keep whispering their riddles to anyone willing to listen. The future of Nazca Line research is unfolding at the intersection of cutting-edge technology and ancient wisdom. One of the most promising tools revolutionizing this field is LiDAR, light detection and ranging, a laser scanning system that can peer through layers of sand and vegetation to reveal hidden geoglyphs invisible to the naked eye. Already, LiDAR has uncovered buried roads and settlements in the Amazon and Mayan jungles, reshaping our understanding of pre-Columbian civilizations. When applied to the Nazca Desert, this technology could expose entire networks of undiscovered lines, perhaps even older than the famous hummingbird or spider, rewriting the timeline of this enigmatic culture. Imagine drones equipped with LiDAR skimming just meters above the ground, painting a 3D map of the plateau, every groove, every stone, every faint impression laid bare. Early pilot scans near Palpa have already revealed tantalizing hints, faint geometric shapes buried under centuries of wind-blown dust, waiting for their stories to be told. But technology alone won't solve the Nazca puzzle. The real breakthroughs will come from interdisciplinary collaboration, where archaeologists team up with climatologists, hydrologists, and even astrophysicists to piece together the full picture. Take climate science. By analyzing sediment cores from nearby lakes, researchers can track ancient rainfall patterns, revealing how droughts or floods might have influenced the Nazca's rituals. Recent studies of pollen trapped in desert soil suggest the plateau wasn't always so barren centuries ago. Seasonal grasses may have covered the land, making the lines stand out even more vividly against a temporary green backdrop. Meanwhile, astrophysicists are using advanced software to model the night sky as the Nazca saw it, testing whether lesser-known star alignments could explain some of the more cryptic glyphs. Even the soil itself is becoming a source of revelation. New techniques in geochemistry allow scientists to analyze the mineral composition of the lines, pinpointing exactly where the Nazca sourced their stones and how they processed them. Some early findings suggest certain lines were repainted over generations, maintained like living artworks rather than static monuments. And geneticists are now extracting DNA from Nazca-era human remains found near the lines, hoping to uncover kinship ties or social hierarchies that might explain how such massive projects were organized. Did specialized families pass down the secrets of line making through generations? Were certain glyphs the work of rival clans, each leaving their mark on the desert? As we stand on the brink of these discoveries, the Nazca Lines remind us that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved quickly. They're invitations to keep questioning, to keep exploring, to marvel at how a civilization without written language could speak so eloquently across millennia. Whether as celestial calendars, sacred pathways, or messages to the gods, these desert drawings challenge us to see the world through different eyes. And with every new line uncovered, every fresh connection made, we're not just decoding the past, we're learning how to listen. One persistent myth about the Nazca Lines is that they can only be seen from space, a claim that's been repeated so often it's taken as fact. The truth, these geoglyphs are absolutely visible from the surrounding foothills and low mountains, no satellites required. The Nazca people didn't need extraterrestrial oversight to create them. They had something far more practical: natural vantage points. The desert isn't perfectly flat. Gentle slopes and ridges offer clear views of many figures, especially the larger trapezoids and straight lines. Even today, visitors can climb near by observation towers or hillsides to take in the sprawling designs without leaving Earth's atmosphere. The idea that they're only visible from space likely stems from their full impact being best appreciated from higher elevations, but that's a far cry from needing an interstellar perspective. Another stubborn misconception is that the Nazca lacked the technology to create such precise designs. Critics ask, how could a pre-industrial society plot mile-long straight lines or symmetrical animal figures without aerial guidance? The answer lies in ingenious low-tech solutions. Archaeologists have demonstrated that simple tools, ropes, wooden stakes, and even basic surveying techniques could achieve remarkable accuracy. Teams might have used grids, scaling up small models by counting steps or stretching measured chords between markers. The straight lines, a matter of aligning stakes over long distances, a method still used by farmers today. And those perfect curves in the spider or monkey glyphs, likely plotted with ropes anchored to central posts creating makeshift compasses. The Nazca didn't need alien blueprints. They had patience, teamwork, and an intimate knowledge of their environment. The alien runway theory, popularized by mid-century speculation, crumbles under scrutiny. Why would advanced beings need landing strips made of loose desert soil, riddled with cracks and uneven terrain? Modern runways require smooth, solid surfaces, something the Nazca Plateau distinctly lacks. Moreover, the lines aren't isolated to flat areas. They weave across rocky outcrops and dry riverbeds, hardly ideal for spacecraft. The astronaut figure, often cited as proof of extraterrestrial contact, closely resembles masked shamans depicted in Nazca pottery, arms raised in ritual poses. It's a reminder that interpreting ancient art through a modern lens risks distorting its true meaning. Beyond debunking myths, the real wonder lies in what the lines reveal about the Nazca worldview. These weren't random doodles or desperate attempts to signal aliens. They were deeply rooted in spirituality and survival. The precision of the lines mirrors the exactness of their irrigation systems, the symmetry of their textiles, the vibrancy of their pottery. This was a culture that celebrated order amid chaos, turning the desert into a canvas for both practical and sacred expression. The hummingbird wasn't just a pretty shape, it was a symbol of rebirth, its wings a prayer for life in a land where water was as precious as gold. So why does the alien narrative persist? Perhaps because it's easier to attribute the lines to outside forces than to grapple with the Nazca's true genius. Their achievements demand we rethink what ancient cultures were capable of, how they transformed limitations into innovation. The lines aren't evidence of otherworldly visitors. They're a testament to human creativity, a dialogue between earth and sky that's lasted 2,000 years. And in that dialogue, we hear something profound. The Nazca didn't need to look to the stars for answers. They found them right here in the dust beneath their feet. For the modern descendants of the Nazca, these ancient lines are more than just archaeological wonders. They're living threads connecting them to their ancestors. Many indigenous communities in southern Peru view the geoglyphs as sacred landmarks, a physical manifestation of their cultural memory. Elders speak of the lines with reverence, passing down oral traditions that describe them as pathways walked by spirits or messages left by the gods. This perspective shifts the narrative from cold academic debate to something deeply personal, a reminder that these desert drawings aren't just puzzles to solve but legacies to honor. Local voices are now playing a central role in preserving this heritage. For years, decisions about the Nazca Lines were made by foreign researchers or government officials, often sidelining the very people whose ancestors created them. But a quiet revolution is underway. Community-led initiatives now train young Peruvians as site guardians, blending traditional knowledge with modern conservation techniques. Schools in Nazca and Palpa teach children the cultural significance of the lines, not just their archaeological value. One powerful example is the annual Pachamama ceremony, where indigenous leaders gather near the hummingbird glyph to offer thanks to the earth, weaving ancient rituals into contemporary stewardship. The shift toward indigenous-led preservation hasn't been without tension. Tourism brings both economic opportunity and exploitation, with some visitors treating the desert as a theme park rather than hallowed ground. In 2020, after a truck driver damaged part of the lines, local protests forced stricter protections, including roadblocks monitored by community volunteers. These efforts highlight a growing recognition. Preserving the Nazca Lines isn't just about guarding stones and soil, it's about safeguarding a worldview. What makes these geoglyphs endure isn't just their physical resilience, but their ability to ignite curiosity across generations and cultures. Whether seen as celestial maps, territorial markers, or divine messages, they speak to something universal in the human spirit, the drive to create, to communicate, to reach beyond our immediate grasp. The Nazca didn't just leave behind lines in the desert, they left an invitation to wonder. And as long as their shapes stretch across the plateau, they'll keep reminding us that the greatest mysteries aren't meant to be solved quickly, but to be pondered deeply together. There's something about the Nazca Lines that refuses to let us go, a magnetic pull stronger than their desert winds. Maybe it's the sheer audacity of their scale, or the tantalizing gap between what we know and what we think we know. They tap into the same part of our brains that lights up at Stonehenge's towering stones or the pyramid's impossible geometry, ancient puzzles wrapped in layers of time, daring us to peel them back. But unlike those monuments, the Nazca Lines don't loom over us physically. They hide in plain sight, invisible until we shift our perspective. That's their magic. They force us to ask, how could humanity create something so monumental yet so ephemeral? Think about it. The pyramids were built to dominate the skyline, their grandeur undeniable from the ground up. Stonehenge's stones demand reverence as you walk among them, but the Nazca, they flipped the script. Their art wasn't meant to impress mortals at eye level. It was a conversation with the heavens, a secret handshake between earth and sky. That inversion of scale is what hooks us. It's like finding a hidden message scrawled across an entire continent, one you can only read from miles above. And in an age where satellites map every inch of our planet, the idea that something so vast could remain unknowable feels almost rebellious. Yet the Nazca Lines aren't alone in their mystery. They're part of a club of ancient enigmas that defy easy answers. Take Stonehenge. We've traced its bluestones to quarries nearly 200 miles away, but we still debate whether it was a calendar, a healing site, or a gateway to the afterlife. The Great Pyramid's precise alignment with true north baffles engineers even today. What unites these sites isn't just their age, it's their refusal to fit neatly into our modern frameworks. They remind us that the past isn't a static exhibit. It's a living, breathing riddle. But here's the difference. While Stonehenge and the pyramids are protected behind fences and ticket booths, the Nazca Lines lie exposed, vulnerable to the scuff of a sneaker or the tread of a truck. Their fragility is part of their power. They've survived 2,000 years of natural erosion, only to face their greatest threat now, us. Climate change, unchecked tourism, even well-meaning researchers leave scars. The lines ask an uncomfortable question: how much longer can they endure? That's why their legacy matters. These aren't just relics, they're mirrors. They reflect our hunger for wonder, our need to believe that the past holds secrets worth unraveling. And in that reflection, we see our own responsibility. Protecting the Nazca Lines isn't just about preserving dust and stones, it's about safeguarding humanity's capacity for awe. Every time we choose reverence over recklessness, we honor the hands that carved those lines, the minds that dreamed them into being, because the real mystery isn't just who made them or why. It's what they'll still have to teach us 1,000 years from now. Standing before the Nazca Lines today, we're faced with a paradox: how to experience their wonder without contributing to their erosion. The desert's fragile surface, preserved for millennia, now faces threats from well-intentioned visitors eager to witness these ancient marvels up close. But there are ways to explore responsibly. Observation towers dotting the plateau offer panoramic views without ever touching the lines, like the metal staircase near the Pan-American Highway, where you can take in the tree and lizard glyphs from 30 feet above. For those craving aerial perspectives, opt for virtual tours or drone footage instead of small planes, which not only reduce carbon emissions but also minimize the vibrations that slowly destabilize the geoglyph's edges. Sustainable choices extend beyond viewing platforms. Local guides from indigenous-led cooperatives share insights no textbook can match, tracing connections between the lines and living traditions while ensuring tourism dollars support the community. Pack reusable water bottles to avoid plastic waste in this water-scarce region, and stick to marked paths. What looks like barren ground might conceal undiscovered glyphs just inches below the surface. Even photography requires mindfulness. Drone permits are tightly regulated to prevent accidental damage, and flash photography at certain angles can accelerate fading. The future of the Nazca Lines hinges on balancing access with preservation. Researchers are pioneering augmented reality experiences that overlay digital reconstructions onto the desert through smartphone apps, allowing visitors to see eroded glyphs in their original glory without disturbing the soil. Nearby museums, like the Rike Museum, house detailed replicas and interactive exhibits that satisfy curiosity while protecting the originals. These innovations remind us that responsible tourism isn't about sacrifice, it's about reimagining how we engage with history. As we look ahead, the lines challenge us to rethink travel itself. They ask whether our footprints, however fleeting, should be left on the places we cherish, or if our role is simply to witness, to wonder, and to ensure these whispers from the past endure for generations still to come. Right now, beneath the shifting sands of the Nazca Desert, new clues are emerging, ones that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about these ancient wonders. Archaeologists armed with ground-penetrating radar have recently detected faint, previously unknown geoglyphs hidden under layers of sediment, their shapes tantalizingly incomplete. Some appear to be early prototypes of the famous animal figures, less refined, more abstract, hinting at centuries of trial and error before the Nazca perfected their craft. Others don't match any known designs, suggesting entire chapters of this desert story are still waiting to be uncovered. Climate change, while threatening the preservation of existing lines, is paradoxically revealing secrets long buried. Unusual rain patterns, rare in this hyper-arid region, have washed away thin layers of dust, exposing weathered glyphs near the foothills of the Andes. In 2022, a team working near Palpa stumbled upon a partially eroded humanoid figure with elongated limbs, a style more reminiscent of the older Paracas culture than classic Nazca art. This discovery raises a provocative question. Did the Nazca inherit the tradition of desert drawings from their predecessors, adapting and scaling them over generations? Meanwhile, advances in artificial intelligence are accelerating the hunt. Researchers feed thousands of satellite images into machine learning algorithms trained to spot subtle patterns in soil discoloration or vegetation growth anomalies invisible to the human eye. Early results suggest countless smaller geoglyphs may crisscross the plateau, forming a vast, interconnected network rather than isolated artworks. Some of these newly detected lines align with ancient trade routes or underground water channels, hinting at a practical function alongside their spiritual significance. But the most exciting breakthroughs might lie just beneath the surface. Excavations near ceremonial mounds adjacent to the lines have uncovered bundles of knotted cords, possible Nazca era kippahs, the cryptic string records used by Andean cultures. If these kippahs can be deciphered, they might finally offer written testimony from the creators themselves, revealing not just how the lines were made, but why. As technology peels back the desert's layers, one thing becomes clear: the Nazca Lines aren't a static museum exhibit. They're a living puzzle, still evolving, still daring us to look deeper. Each discovery doesn't just add another piece, it reshapes the entire board, proving that some mysteries grow richer the closer we get to solving them. After centuries of study, the Nazca Lines still refuse to surrender their secrets, but three compelling theories have risen above the rest. First, the ritual hypothesis paints these desert canvases as sacred pathways, walked by priests and pilgrims during ceremonies to commune with the gods. Broken pottery and offerings found along the lines suggest processions where every step was a prayer, every turn a plea for rain in this unforgiving landscape. Then there's the celestial argument. Maria Rike's lifelong work revealed how many lines align with solstices or constellations, turning the plateau into a sprawling astronomical calendar. The hummingbird's beak pointing precisely to the summer solstice sunset can't be coincidence. It's a deliberate conversation with the cosmos. And let's not forget the water cult theory, where zigzagging patterns mimic lightning and underground rivers, mapping hidden aquifers while symbolizing desperate prayers for life-giving rain. But here's the beauty of the mystery: none of these explanations cancel each other out. The Nazca world, you didn't separate science from spirituality. To them, tracking the stars and pleading for water were two sides of the same coin. Those straight lines might have guided both solstice ceremonies and trade caravans. The spider glyph could simultaneously honor rain deities and mark a hidden spring. This duality is what makes the lines so mesmerizing. They're not puzzles with one solution but layered masterpieces, each generation finding new meanings in their curves and angles. What's undeniable is the sheer brilliance behind them. Without written language or modern tools, the Nazca transformed their desert into a living library of symbols, using nothing but stones, ropes, and generations of skyward-gazing knowledge. They engineered these geoglyphs to last millennia, not through brute force but by working with the desert, letting the wind and sun preserve their art like natural collaborators. That's their real legacy, proof that human creativity, when rooted in deep observation and communal purpose, can etch itself into eternity. So now it's your turn. After journeying through these theories, ritual, celestial, hydraulic, which one resonates with you? Or do you have a completely different idea about why these lines stretch across the Peruvian desert? Drop your thoughts below and keep the conversation alive. After all, the Nazca didn't just leave behind lines in the sand. They left an open invitation to wonder, to debate, and to marvel at what ancient hands can teach us even now. You don't need a plane ticket to experience the wonder of the Nazca Lines. Some of the most powerful tools for exploration are right at your fingertips. Google Earth offers an incredible virtual tour, letting you zoom over the desert plateau with the click of a button. With high-resolution satellite imagery, you can trace the hummingbird's wingspan, follow the serpent's coils, or even discover lesser-known glyphs like the newly uncovered two-faced figure near Palpa. Turn on the 3D terrain feature, and the landscape springs to life, revealing how the Nazca harnessed the natural contours of the Earth to make their designs pop. It's the closest thing to flying over the desert without leaving your couch. For a deeper dive, check out the Nazca Lines section on the UNESCO World Heritage website, packed with interactive maps and detailed descriptions of each glyph's alignment and symbolism. The Peruvian Ministry of Culture's virtual museum also hosts a stunning digital exhibit where you can rotate 3D models of the most famous geoglyphs, examining every angle as if you were standing beside them. Curious about Maria Rike's research, the Library of the University of San Marcos in Lima has digitized her original notebooks filled with hand-drawn sketches and celestial calculations that bring her theories to life. If you're craving expert commentary, platforms like YouTube host lectures from leading archaeologists, breaking down the latest discoveries from LiDAR scans revealing buried lines to soil analysis that uncovers how the Nazca maintained their art. Podcasts like the Ancient Art podcast dedicate entire episodes to the lines, weaving together history, science, and local indigenous perspectives. And for a truly immersive experience, some VR apps now let you walk the pathways of the spider glyph or witness a solstice alignment firsthand, all through the lens of a headset. But the journey doesn't stop there. Dive into open-access academic journals like Antiquity or Journal of Archaeological Science, where cutting-edge research on the lines is published, often with free downloadable papers. Follow archaeologists on social media. Many share real-time updates from digs or debunk myths with bite-sized videos. And don't overlook local voices. Peruvian scholars and indigenous communities frequently host live-streamed talks, offering insights you won't find in textbooks. To everyone who's joined this exploration, thank you. Whether you're a lifelong mystery enthusiast or just discovering the Nazca Lines, your curiosity keeps their story alive. The desert's whispers are louder when we listen together, so grab your virtual broom or your VR headset and keep uncovering. The lines aren't just etched into the earth, they're etched into us, inviting every generation to look up, look down, and wonder. The Nazca Lines stand as a testament to humanity's boundless imagination, a reminder that even in the harshest landscapes, we find ways to etch our dreams into the earth. They challenge us to reconsider what ancient civilizations were capable of, not with alien technology, but with patience, ingenuity, and an unshakable connection to the world around them. These desert drawings aren't just relics of a bygone era. They're a mirror reflecting our own relentless drive to create, to communicate, to reach beyond the visible. Think about it, 1,500 years from now, what will future generations make of the footprints we've left behind? Will they marvel at our skyscrapers, our satellites, our digital constellations, and wonder how we managed such feats with the tools we had? The Nazca didn't need flight to envision their art from the sky. They simply dared to think bigger than their own horizons. There's a haunting beauty in how these lines endure. They've outlasted empires, weathered centuries of wind and dust, and still, they whisper their secrets to anyone willing to listen. They remind us that the past isn't a locked door but an open conversation, one that evolves with every new discovery. As the writer William Faulkner once said, "The past is never dead, it's not even past." The Nazca Lines embody that truth. They're not frozen in time, they're alive, pulsing with questions that refuse to be answered neatly. Every time a drone uncovers a hidden glyph or a soil sample reveals a forgotten ritual, the story rewrites itself, inviting us to lean in closer. So what's the takeaway? Perhaps it's this: the greatest mysteries aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to inspire. The Nazca didn't carve their lines for us, but in their defiance of time, they've given us a gift, a reminder to stay curious, to look at the world with fresh eyes, and to never underestimate the power of human creativity. Whether you're gazing at these desert wonders from a plane, a screen, or the pages of a book, let them stir something in you. Ask your own questions, chase your own enigmas, and remember, the next great discovery might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to shift their perspective and see what others have missed. The Nazca Lines aren't just a mystery of the past, they're an invitation